On today's show, the Cavs went into Philly. They came back almost, but a dreadful first half really did them in. We're going to break down this game in full and the fallout from it on a new episode of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. I'm Chris Manning. I cover the Cavs and the NBA for places like UPROXX, SB Nation's Fear the Sword, and the Just Basketball Show. That man over there, who looks like he's confused at a grocery store to me for some reason, is Evan Dammarell, the proprietor of Down Euclid. You can find him on Twitter and all social media platforms at @Evan. Evan.
Not an inaccurate way to describe me right now.
Your head was turned to the side. And
I'm trying to pull a Carter Rodriguez and look like I'm looking at you while you're talking. I'm also trying to type out something so I can pull it up as we chat about this game against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Philadelphia 76ers. But
yes,
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm just living. I'm surviving. All right, so the Cavs go into Philly. They lose a game that would have put them third in the East. They fall 38-23 in the season. They lose 118-112. They trailed by as many as 28 in this game. They played an utterly dreadful first half, outscored 38-24 in the first quarter, 25-14 in the second, and an 11-point advantage in the fourth. Was just not enough. So Evan, I am of two minds in this game. On one hand, I look at this and say, okay, you had a really strong second half, and I don't think you'll play that bad again in a first half on most nights. This is your 7th game in 11 nights. It's right before the All-Star break. Like, I can understand like a little bit of just the fatigue and things not going exactly your way. On the other hand, I thought the most important player in this game in terms of dictating how it went was Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid and his presence on both ends of the floor, I thought Evan Mobley looked uncomfortable for a lot of this. Jared Allen really cannot hang in the post with him one-on-one. No one really can, but Allen had a really hard time with that. That changes how you're going to play defense. Embiid kind of controlled the paint against a team in the Cavs who really thrive in a lot of ways off of like having control over the center of the floor and around the rim. So I think that's where I start there is like, yes, like you should feel okay about the second half. But the first half was really bad, and Embiid felt like the dominant player in this game.
Yeah, you and I talked about this on the preview leading up to this game, that how the Cavs will, based off availability, whether or not Embiid was going to play, and more than anything, like how the Cavs are going to defend James Harden, who this is the first time the Cavs have faced Harden in the regular season, because in the first game between these two teams many moons ago, Harden didn't play, but also how they handled Embiid as well, just because they are such a lethal tandem, Embiid and Harden are. And I think the fact that Harden had 7 assists pretty early into the opening frame certainly set the tone for me. And I agree with you. I think Harden set things in motion for the Sixers, and then Embiid just kind of consistently took them home. And he's showing again why he's an MVP caliber candidate and why the Cavs kind of had to understand the assignment a little bit. And I don't know what his averages are, him as an Embiid, just career-wise against Jared Allen, but like he definitely took Jared Allen's lunch money, lunch, dessert, and everything in between as well, just because he was flat out dominant in this one. And I know people can complain all they want about the free throw grifting or how egregious some of the foul calls that the Sixers were able to draw were, but at the end of the day, the Cavs were down big in the first one, and they had to climb and claw their way back into this one like they usually do. This is going to go hand in hand with my stat of the night soon after we talk about this in the next segment. But this is just another example of the Cavs trying to play themselves out of a hole they dug themselves into. And it's just a case of too little, too late. Like, yeah, the energy and effort was there in the second half from them, but it wasn't there in the first. And they didn't respond to the massive sucker punch they kind of experience. And then you watch them just scramble for the rest of the game trying to maintain pace. And sure, they almost broke through, but it's, again, too little too late. If you're a team like Cleveland and you have serious playoff ambitions, you can't keep finding yourself in this hole consistently.
So what I come away thinking from this game is a little bit about how this would match up in a playoff series. And I think there's a couple things that I would feel better about if I'm Cleveland, just kind of getting another crack at it. I think the second half showed there are things you can do better, and you will probably just perform better on average than you did in the first half. I think having Ricky Rubio would be a really big deal. I think they really missed his presence. I think having him to go to at times, I think, would have been good. I also think in the first half, it felt like everyone panicked a little bit, and I wonder if that goes away in future games. Like, there's a couple of things. Like, I thought Mobley just never looked fully comfortable in the first half. Like, only had the 2 points. And I thought, like, even the substitutions were just, like, a little, like, searching for answers. Like, going to Lamar Stevens, the time Bickerstaff did, felt very much like, let me find it. I just, like, need something to work right now, and I'm going to try Lamar. And the first possession was Lamar passes up an open 3, and he got the ball back and drove it and got blocked. And it's like, this didn't work. And it felt like the first half was them just, like, searching for something. I thought Garland was maybe the most consistent guy the entire game, but they got down early, and then it felt like they were scrambling, and whatever changed coming out of the break, what kind of adjustments were made, if just settling down, whatever it is, we're not in Philly, we're not there hearing kind of what they say about this post game. I'll be curious to read the quotes. That to me was just like, okay, like, this feels like a group that is still young and going through some of this the first time and maybe trying to figure stuff out. And I am both like, I think there are things in this game that would absolutely freak me out if I'm Cleveland about how you approach this in a 7-game series. But there's also parts of this where I think you will probably manage it better over a different stretch of time with your full selection of players. Is that like I feel like I'm like being a coward, like sitting on the fence.
No,
but like I just don't find myself like getting really worked up, and I don't find myself being like writing this off either. I find myself like squarely kind of in the middle, which is maybe the very most Chris Manning thing that has ever happened in me talking about a big game.
Manning is actually Norwegian for fence sitter, if folks didn't know that. But I think you're spot on just the Cavs kind of looking a little frazzled. It looked like they were shell shocked, especially just how Philly was just doing whatever they wanted in the first quarter against them. And the statistic I was trying to pull up as I looked confused at a grocery store was the Cavs had 7 turnovers and Philly scored 11 points off that. And to your point, they looked a lot more cool, calm, and collected in the second half because the Cavs only turned it over once and Philly scored 3 points off that, whereas Philly turned it over 9 times and had 20. Cleveland had 20 points off of that. So like you could see something there. I agree with you. The lack of Ricky Rubio maybe mean that calming presence just coming off the bench and maybe just unlocking a lot of things for the team just from his 6-man play and maybe just getting him and building a rhythm when there's like no Harden or Maxey on the floor to kind of for him to deal with. And also I think maybe the lack of Jetty Osmond hurt this team a little bit too. Like, yeah, we saw some Danny Green minutes. He played about 6 minutes, 30 seconds in the second half. He played in total. I had to do the math. I had the halves up. He played about 12 minutes tonight for Cleveland. And I think the lack of Osmond certainly gave Green the opportunity to play more. And I will talk about him probably in the third segment, just touching on his debut for the Cavs. But like, I agree with you. The Cavs were kind of scrambling to find something that was just functional for them. Like Dean Wade did not have it tonight. He played about less than 9 minutes and was 0-1 from the floor. Lamar Stevens, like you said, played 5 minutes in this game total, but he gave them a little bit of a spark. But then you saw Danny Green come in and the Cavs tried a funky lineup of Garland, Mitchell, Green, Stevens, Allen, which, like, to JB Bickerstaff's credit, kind of was working for them a little bit. So I think there is some good you can take from this game. There's quite a bit of bad you can take from this game as well, but again, I'm not going to overreact either, like you. I think I'm just going to remain steady Eddie in the fact that this is game 60 or 61 of the regular season for Cleveland.
Yes, there's exactly 20 games left in the regular season before we get to playoff basketball.
So this is just going to be growing experiences all year long. Like the Cavs need to break through. Like I was doing the math for a story for Write Down Euclid tomorrow. Like the Cavs total right now have 373 games of playoff experience with 165 of those belonging to Danny Green. So they need to, and then like Kevin Love has 63, Robin Lopez has 36, Jenny Osmond has 14, just to like give you some idea of who else is soaking up those numbers too. So other than Donovan Mitchell, this cast team needs experience. I think these are learning experiences, of course. And I know we can talk about this a lot. I know it frustrates the players, or like they can keep saying like, oh, we can learn from this, we can learn from this, we can learn from this. They need to do something about it. But don't take too much stock out of the fact this is game 61. And the Cavs are still sitting very pretty in the Eastern Conference right now. So it's not a bad place to be in as they head into the All-Star break and kind of recollect, recharge, and get ready for this last like 20-ish game sprint.
Yeah, they still a lot to play for. They get Philly again in a month. That will be in Cleveland. That will be a massive game.
Tiebreaker game.
The tiebreaker, yeah. This loss means these teams are tied 1-1. Winner of that third one gets a tiebreaker, which maybe matters, maybe doesn't. All right, let's go into the break. Let's come back. Let's give out some game awards. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, the midway point of the NBA season is here, and it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. There you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. I know one of the most fun ones I see people tweeting about sometimes is like the first bucket of the game, just trying to pick out who's going to get the first one. Maybe the method as well, if you want to throw that into a parlay. And look, FanDuel has a ton of good stuff. They even let you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked. That's FanDuel.com/lockdown to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Evan, who's your MVP?
Donovan Mitchell. I think you can make a case for either him or Darius Garland in this one, but Mitchell was very good for the Cavs. I know he was 11 of 24 from the field, but like he put up 33 very important points, had 5 big assists as well, 2 steals. Like he was impactful in this one. I think you could tell Philly's defensive strategy was, let's try our best to slow down Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell and dare everyone else to beat us, because Mobley and Allen can't create on their own, and Isaac Okoro is just kind of bleh offensively. Philly played off of Isaac Okoro a lot in this game too, but I think just the Cavs adjusted a little bit and responded to this pressure well, and you saw it from Garland and Mitchell at the end of the day. So it's either one of those two, but I'm going to tip my cap to Donovan Mitchell.
Mitchell was 8 of 13, 25 points in the second half, got to the line 8 times, made 7 free throws. That was a very, very big deal. And I'm going to go Darius Garland. I felt he was the most consistent player in this game. He finishes 27. He finishes 27, 6 assists, just 1 turnover, 4 6 on the line. That to me was just the most consistent player. He was like actually pretty solid enough in the first half, all things considered, in a way that Mitchell just kind of never really got into a rhythm for whatever reason. This is a game, Evan, that I kind of want to go back and watch to some degree, just because I feel like there's things I'll like maybe like look a little bit differently. At least watch, some of the shots and things as we go through. Okay, so stat of the night. Mine's very simple. There's not a lot to add on to it. The Cavs in the first half, at least right up until the end, I missed this exactly, but they had an 83.3 offensive rating at one point in the first half. That is like so below the standard of like an NBA offense. That's like levels, that's like in the level, like 3 levels down underneath the ground below like what like the baseline. You're just like trying to be a competent NBA team. It is just so hard when you play the way they did in the first half on offense to like win a game, much less win a game against like a good NBA team. This isn't like coming back and beating the Bulls like they did over the weekend. This is coming back to beat a team. The Bulls, who just blew another big game, by the way, against the Patriots. I don't know if you saw how that happened, but like I was watching the I saw the win probability chart of that game, and they were up by 24, and it was like up here, and then it just slowly cratered into the ground. The Bulls are bad. They should just blow it up. But it's really hard to beat any team, much less a really good team like Philly, when your offense is just absolutely garbage for the half. But Evan, what's your stat?
My stat of the night is Cleveland was down 27 in the third quarter at one point, and they chipped away to at least make it a 6-point deficit and a 6-point loss at the end of the day. And we didn't even talk about it in the first segment. I'm still confused. I think people are pointing out to me because I had my TV on mute while watching the game just because play-by-play can sometimes irk me a little bit. That Evan Mobley fouled Jared Allen in the closing moment, or sorry, not Jared Allen, James Harden in the closing moments of the game. And apparently Bickerstaff was signaling for them to trap when Mobley interpreted that as a foul. But regardless, Cleveland showed a little bit of scrap. They showed a little bit of heart. Like you said, they were a lot better in the second half. I think Donovan Mitchell being a big part of that as well. Maybe letting Darius Garland to the table helps a lot too. But it's just a case of too little too late. Like you can't afford to come out so flat on the road like you consistently do if you're Cleveland. And more than anything, just not show up to start games, because then you have to kind of just expend all of this energy trying to climb back into it. And then you see boneheaded fouls like Mobley had down the stretch.
What is your play of the night?
It's a simple one. Isaac Okoro had a really nice block on James Harden in the fourth quarter, and it felt like it was a little bit of a catalyst to kind of lead to the Cavs getting really back into this game. I believe the deficit was cut all the way down to like 4 at one point, and I think it does coincide with just defense leading to offense for Cleveland, and they had to find some type of spark somewhere, and it was simple enough. It just, Okoro didn't have a great game otherwise, especially on the offensive side of the ball, but like that block on Harden was pretty good. He did play some solid defense on Harden down the stretch at times too.
I will say the other thing about this game that I think maybe I brushed by a little bit faster than I should, that felt like a big deal, was that James Harden, I thought, played really well. And in particular, I felt as if he gave Evan Mobley some problems on switches in a way that I've seen very few guards. Like, he just looked physical. He looked explosive. Like, the hamstring looks good. Maybe I don't know if that's going to hold in the playoffs or if he gets hurt again. And like the track record is what it is with Harden. But he looked really good in this game, and that's like a really hard thing to deal with. So I got 2 plays. One is kind of cheat. I want to point out that Ben Cock, friend of the program, tweeted some pointing out that, and I just like not put this together in my head for some reason, but in a game the Cavs lost by 6, you had 2 sequences, one by Darius Garland and one by Evan Mobley, where they had 0 for 2 throw trips. That's just killer. Like, make your free throws, especially bad. Garland. And the other one would just be Danny Green's first 3, because that was just like, hey, what are the shots Danny Green is going to give with the Cleveland Cavaliers? It's a play where Donovan Mitchell gets into lane, he makes a pass to the corner, and who's waiting there on the wing for the extra pass? Oh, it's Danny Green, who's probably just going to shoot the open 3, and you feel pretty good about him making it. That just was like, they're down by a lot, nothing worked, but like Danny Green's first bucket this tenure with the Cavs, just like, it made a lot of sense to me. And like, honestly, like the rest of this game had a lot of just like the best plays were like Embiid doing like monster stuff. Yeah, Joel Embiid hitting that fader to kind of like, dude, what do you do? Like that was pretty good defense by Jared Allen on that play. And like, what can you do in that situation? Like, you just throw up your hands and say, okay, that's an MVP candidate right there. Like, that's a lowercase god on the other side of the court that we're facing. Him or Jokic for MVP right now? Jokic, just because the Nuggets are the best team in the league, in my opinion. Just at this juncture, they're the best team in the league. I think I go Jokic as well, but like, it's like really hard to look really at Embiid close. And be like, and especially in like a guard/forward driven league, it's kind of wild to see like 2 big men are just by and far the best players in the league. But while we have time, quick shout out to Dean Wade for having 2 blocks and forcing 2 jump balls on both possessions. He didn't play much, but he certainly had 2 very interesting moments in the first half. I don't even know like what the right answer. Like, one of the things that if I'm JB Bickerstaff really keeping me up for the playoffs is trying to figure out a coherent way to defend Joel Embiid without like not compromising your defense. I think it's opening up your depth chart a little bit and maybe throwing Robin Lopez. Just throwing Robin Lopez out there and just fouling the heck out of Joel Embiid or playing super physically with him and not letting your bigs get in foul trouble down the stretch. So like, that's the only thing, because like, this is a Cavs team that's predicated on playing big. I think you need to sacrifice Robin Lopez to the Wolves in this one in order to maybe eke out a game on the road like this. Maybe it's, Mamba Diakite gave you some good minutes when he beat Philly. He's not playoff eligible. I know. He's on a 2-week contract. Let me get some jokes off for the Cavs Twitter sickos, Evan.
That's fair. Okay.
Who are like probably wondering about Dylan Windler's status, and I'm just like, look, played for the Charge and they lost this.
He played less than 6 minutes and had 3 points on 1 of 4 shooting off the bench for the Charge tonight.
Brutal. All right, we're done talking about Dylan Windler. We'll be back after this break. Talk a little bit about Danny Green.
There's your Dylan Windler update, everyone.
There's your Dylan Windler 10 seconds. We need like Jake. Jake, if when you're listening to this, if you can think of like a buzzer for us in the future when we have like a Dylan Windler minute, if you could insert that into future episodes, I would really appreciate that. But after the break, we'll talk about the East. We'll talk about Danny Green right after this. All right, last segment, Lockdown Cavs. So Evan, let's do a couple minutes on Danny Green.
Sure.
Not a ton of minutes. Kind of felt like they put him in at a point where they just were looking for some competency, looking for some stability. It was like, if I had to pick a way for him to make his debut playing for JB Bickerstaff, that felt very right to me. As JB's like, give me Danny Green, get him out here. That felt right to me. 11 minutes, just under 12, 1 of 4 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3, had a rebound, had a steal, 3 points total. What did you make of Danny Green, and just how do you feel like he looked?
I mean, you highlighted his like blown offensive highlight, which was a catch and shoot 3-pointer. And that's exactly what you want from Danny Green. Cause like, sure, there was a possession where James Harden blew past him in the first half, but like there was times where you're like, okay, you can see the vision of him still being a somewhat competent defensive wing. Like he just provides you length, he provides you size. And I think the shooting more than anything, like he is a low maintenance wing. He is your fifth banana when you have him out there on offense. And like you saw the defense collapsing on, I believe Allen on the possession where Green made the 3-pointer, but then like they also rotated to cover Mitchell, and Mitchell smartly made the pass to Green, who was wide open, and he made it.
Mitchell drove in, Allen's in the paint, Garland's in the corner.
That's it.
And
okay.
Garland makes the pass.
Either way, the Cavs read the defense very well, and Danny Green, being a good 3-point shooter that he is, took advantage of that. Now I need to see more of it, obviously. Like you had mentioned, previewing this game, like he had played a couple games for the Grizzlies before this, but like it's not a big enough body of work just to say like, okay, this is what the Cavs should expect from Danny Green. But like the return, we'll just say, was somewhat promising, but I don't expect a ton of stuff. I think maybe more so like people can roll their eyes, 5, 10, 15 games. And the Cavs don't have a lot of games left into this. Like maybe we'll have a clear idea of like how he is penciled into the rotation when this team is quote unquote fully healthy as well. And we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. But yeah, he was an answer JB Bickerstaff kind of needed, and he gave them a bit of a spark on both ends of the floor. And like, that's exactly what you need from a dude who's in his late 30s and still coming off the lingering embers of an ACL tear. Plus it was, I don't know, it was cool to see the Philly fans give him a standing O when he checked in as well.
Yeah, it was cool to see him, and like he right at the half they had the camera still on him, and he went and like dapped up Rivers, who he obviously played for and probably has known for a long time, and it was just like, oh, like there's clearly some respect, here. He looked a lot like he did in Memphis to me. I think it's just, let's see what he looked like after the break. I think it was good to get him some run. For us analyzing this, I think the trick thing is, no Jetty Osman didn't play, so like you don't really get like a clear like. Yeah. And like some of the rotations also just like felt like off to me. And like that's also going to be the case in the playoffs, where like you're going to be throwing things out there and you're going to be trying to figure stuff out. But like the rhythm of the rotations in terms of like, and with Jetty out and us figuring out, okay, Danny Green is going to play here. It felt like it was a little bit more like he's just out there and we're not really learning a ton about that. But that's like a very like first world 7th game in 11 days pre All-Star break kind of reality ultimately. Okay. Evan, let's end on one last thing here. State of the Eastern Conference. With this loss, as we discussed, the Cavs go into the All-Star break 4th in the East. Here's the East standings as of right now. Boston is 1st. The Bucks are 2nd, a game back of Boston. The 76ers are 3rd. They are 3 games back of the Celtics. The Cavs are in 4th. At 38 and 23, they are 5 games back of 1st, 2 games behind 3rd place, 4 games behind 2nd place. The Nets are in 5th. Their Cavs are 2.5 games up on them. The Knicks are in 6th. They're 9.5 games back of 1st. They are a full 4.5 games back. Cleveland, Miami 7, Atlanta 8, Toronto 9, Washington 10. That is the top 10 of the East right now. everyone is kind of divided up in a little bit of tiers. The Cavs are kind of in this middle. Them and Philly to some degree are kind of in the same kind of bracket right now, where they are pinched between each other. The Cavs have also played 4 more games than Philly, which is kind of an interesting little weirdness. But when you look at this in the East right now, the season ends today. It's Cleveland, Brooklyn, round 1. Cavs could be on the under. It would be against Boston in round 2, where Boston to obviously win, and then the Cavs get that. What do you just make of where the Cavs are in the East and what the East standings look like as we hit the All-Star break?
I'm encouraged, I think, still just by the fact that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland look so comfortable with each other out there. I think we're seeing signs of growth from Evan Mobley, and more importantly, Isaac Okoro is just like that two-way wing for Cleveland. Again, the Danny Green signing is nice just because that gives you like a massive like volume of experience. That's just going to make things a lot better for Cleveland, not just now, but in the future as well. But they're 15 games above 500. They need 4 more wins to clinch a winning record. I think they're in a pretty good spot, all things considered. And the fact that Cleveland has the 25th hardest schedule post All-Star break and Philly has the hardest schedule post All-Star break, I think there's going to be more opportunities for the Cavs to gain ground on Philadelphia and maybe leapfrog them for the 3rd seed. And then again, we talk about it like a month from now, they play the Sixers again. Like that game's going to have a lot of weight to it, but we'll see. These teams could also not finish at the same record at the end of the day. But like, if you're the Cavs, yeah, this loss is frustrating in the moment. But like, you look back at everything and what they've accomplished up to this point, they're doing pretty well. And I think it's a different spot compared to last season because this Cavs team now has a target on their back compared to last year when they were kind of taking everyone by surprise. And we'll see how it goes. Like, I don't think they're going to catch Boston or Milwaukee. I think those two will separate themselves a little bit more, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a dogfight between 3 and 4. And like, that's the second tier of like the Eastern Conference echelon at the end of the day. Like, we'll see what happens with Brooklyn. Like Mikal Bridges had 40 points when the Cat against the Heat tonight. And after that, like Brooklyn has a lot of good players. I think after that, it's a lot of just poo-poo on the platter at that point. Like the Cavs could play a bad team, or they could end up playing a team like Brooklyn and struggle a little bit and then have to go face a bust that's either the Bucks or the Celtics in the second round. So we'll see how it goes. I still feel pretty confident in saying like they are a second round exit at their floor, and that's probably realistically their ceiling, just with how good the Bucks and the Celtics are right now.
I think they're closer to the top than the teams kind of below them. I think there are some like teams in that right below them that are like, I think the Knicks are legit like going to be annoying to play for whoever gets them in the first round. Like Miami is Miami. Fair. Like I would expect them to be really annoying. Like I think you're like whether it's the Knicks or whether it's Miami or whoever you get in round 1 or it ends up being Brooklyn, I think you're going to be in for some challenges just to put you through the ringer. And I think that's good. I think this team is at the stage where I think the NBA typically does not work where like first, unless you have LeBron James, like he's kind of the exception to this, unless you have LeBron, and even he obviously had to go through ups and downs and go through the ringer and take losses on the chin to get to where he got before like learning how to win. Like you go through some of that stuff. And that's like been one of the through lines of a lot of things that they have said. I felt this year, like one of the things they've really harped on in media stuff a lot is like, hey, like, you know, we're learning, we're young. Like this is still like a young group. You mentioned the thing about how many, like the disproportionate amount of playoff games that Danny Green has played versus like anyone else on this roster. Like that is a crazy.
Well, like 2 dudes that aren't in the rotation soak up a ton of those, like 100 games combined of those playoff games.
Yeah, and of like your core nucleus, like Mitchell's the one with like was the only one with like real deep kind of playoff experience, both good and bad, right? Like he actually got to go to the bubble, and the Cavs did not get to go to the bubble because they were really stinky that year, right? Like they were like, you are not deemed worthy enough to come like to go the waves of the COVID pandemic in Orlando. You get to stay home because you're not good enough. That was where that team was at. Mitchell was ahead of that. I think I am curious to see how this team continues to level up. I think the playoffs tell us a lot. I think they are closer to the top than not, but I think they at most are going to be third. They're probably I could see them ending up fourth. A lot of the models with some of the analytics and things and the schedule gives the Cavs like a better chance than I might of having them finish in third. I think it's possible. I think how this team grows up this year, it feels to me like this is the kind of game and this kind of season is like the catalyst for whatever comes next as you're growing up. That to me, what this kind of feels like is you can still accomplish a lot, you can still win a lot of games, but whatever comes next, I feel like is going to come out of whatever this ends up being. And the East is also just good. Like I think no matter who they get in round one, New York, Brooklyn, Miami, like it's not the same as getting like the KD, Kyrie Nets as that might have been, or like getting Philly. But I think you're going to be in for like you're going to be in for like a tough competitive first round series. And that in itself is like, I think will be a really good thing for this group ultimately.
I mean, as presently constructed, the Brooklyn Nets are kind of made to really pester the heck out of the Cavs. Like they can throw a lot of dudes at Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell and just dare Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to beat them by themselves at times. But obviously we'll see how the rest of the season goes. It's going to be an interesting sprint. I think it's kind of fun that the East is just so hyper competitive. Maybe if you are on a coaching staff for one of those lower rung Eastern Conference teams, like if you're the Hawks, you're stressing and sweating this quite a bit. But again, the Cavs were one of 3 teams that made a power move between them, Atlanta, and Minnesota. And they are sitting pretty comparatively to those two at the end of the day. And I think if you're the Cavs, your focus heading into this All-Star break is let Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley have fun at Salt Lake City, but get healthy, get right, and shift your focus for this final 20-game stretch, because we saw last year, post All-Star break, Darius Garland didn't play for a little bit of it just because of the backish stuff, but even when Garland was back, like when the pressure was the tightest, the Cavs couldn't handle it. I'm now morbidly curious to see how do they handle similar type pressure situations, because there are cracks, there are youth and inexperience like moments rearing their ugly head for Cleveland still, but they're also still showing signs of growth and like just maturing as a squad too. And I want to see if they continue to do that with this last 20 or so games.
Let's end there. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. We will be back on Friday. Topic TBD, but we're at the All-Star break, so we'll talk about maybe some All-Star things. Do some of the strengths of this Cavs season, things we feel like we learned. And next
I have
week,
our topic. We will give our full
topic?
Thoughts on Shrek, which, the theme song for that movie is All Star by Smash Mouth. So
there's a little
to coincide with All Star weekend. We'll talk about how somebody once told me the world was going to roll me. Because Chris, I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
That's the truth.
Then you're supposed to, put your finger and your thumb in the shape of an L. Oh, there we go. On your
we will
forehead.
not break it on Shrek. That is only on the Patreon. That doesn't exist. But
yeah,
the Cavs are off till next Thursday, but we are not off. Subscribe, rate, review, please. 5 stars only. Evan really needs to get a new copy of Shrek. He's watched it so many times that it's worn out, and we need that. But until next time, I'm Chris. That's
it's
Evan.
a digital copy, no less, and I've worn it out.
It's unbelievable stuff. Be well.